Hello everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here, and welcome back to the Wannabe Podcast, episode 13. Before we begin, I just want to say that, wow, the fact that we're only a few days away from it being the end of 2018 is crazy. I mean, not to say that this year went super fast. Honestly, I feel like last year and the year before that went way faster, but still, I mean, the fact that we're already at the end of the year is crazy, you know, it's nuts. And I mean, I don't know, with that, I guess I just want to say that, as always, big shout out to all of you who have, supported me all throughout the year, whether it's projects like this podcast or just videos or anything that I've done this year on the channel. Thank you very much to anyone who has been there to, give their support or kind words, that sort of thing. Thanks, guys. And with that being said, I did quite a few things this week, so I guess without further ado, let's jump in. First thing I want to talk about is that, as always, I try to read some manga, and this week I read a new series. Read and completed, actually, because it was only 32 chapters, so it was a pretty quick read. This manga series is kind of hard to really describe. The content it talks about is some pretty heavy stuff. So for this one, I think I'll just read a synopsis off of my anime list. And I think that's a good place to start, so you guys kind of get the idea, all right? So this manga series is called Bitter Virgin. And as the synopsis says, popular high school student Suwa Daisuke has no interest in dating newcomer Aikawa Hinako, a quiet loner. That's because she recoiled from his flirtatious touch, and he took it as a personal affront. Daisuke informs one of his buddies that he wouldn't date her, not knowing Hinako was listening. Daisuke's attitude changes, though, after he accidentally hears her confession in an abandoned church. She's been sexually abused by her stepfather and has given up a child for adoption. His former annoyance turns to compassion and concern. Hinako is unaware that he knows her terrible secret. Believing him to have no romantic interest, she becomes more relaxed and comfortable in his company. Their relationship faces a lot of obstacles, including jealous classmates. So yeah, this manga is definitely not a feel-good series. I mean, it's not super dark. Trust me, it doesn't go as dark as Goodnight Pun Pun, but it definitely has some heavy content. Like I said, the main heroine, basically, we learn about how in the past her stepdad raped her. She actually got pregnant twice. One time she had an abortion because her body couldn't handle having, the baby. And the second time she did give birth, but she ended up putting the baby up for adoption. And yeah, I mean, it definitely has some heavy content, and it definitely is a bit difficult to read through because it just talks about some stuff in pretty graphic detail. However, it is still a pretty good manga series. The way it shows the main character change his attitude from just kind of thinking she's kind of a weird loner and he's wondering what her deal is with why she seems to be scared of men, to how he actually grows to care for her and really show concern because he can't believe what she's been through. I thought that part of the story was really good. I thought that the way that we see her open up to the main character was really nice because obviously she's had this trauma in the past that has her, be scared of men. However, the way she opens up to the main character and starts to trust him and start to, let herself open up after all this trauma, that part was really nice. And yeah, just in general, the interaction between the two main characters is cool. And I thought that it was really well written, the way, I don't know, just the way they make the trauma very real. That's not to say that the subject matter is always treated the best. I feel like sometimes what happened to her is treated a little bit more of a plot device, if that makes sense. I don't think it's always treated the best, but I do still think it's treated pretty good most of the time. I don't know, there is some, because it is a high school kind of romance thing, there are some supporting characters that are kind of annoying and kind of, they act like they're cliche. Sometimes there's a bit of drama that probably feels a bit unnecessary. But I don't know. I think that if you can handle the subject matter, it is a very interesting story and definitely very unique. I mean, you never really see media that just touches upon sexual abuse survivors. I mean, you never really see that. And the fact that this manga chooses to go there and kind of show this girl try to have a life after all that. It's interesting. And like I said, I think that most of the time it is very well written. And so yeah, once again, the manga is called Bitter Virgin. It is 32 chapters, and I feel like if you can handle it, I recommend it. It's not like I said, it's not like a lighthearted read. It is kind of difficult to read through some parts, but overall, I think that it's really well done, and it was a really unique series about something that, like I said, isn't really touched upon, so. Moving on, I watched quite a few anime this week, and that includes both stuff that I had talked about in other weeks that wrapped up this week, and a new series, so to speak. So first I want to start with the new series that I hadn't really mentioned on the podcast, and that is Steins Gate Zero. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched the original Steins Gate, but I think the original Steins Gate is one of those series that just ranks really high up there. I mean, you know, compared to like stuff like Cowboy Bebop and Death Note and stuff like that it feels like everyone should watch at some point, I think Steins Gate is right up there, all right? For anyone who doesn't know, Steins Gate is this like sci-fi thriller. I don't know. Honestly, Steins Gate has a little bit of everything, but it's kind of like this, like I said, mostly sci-fi show about this group of people, you know, in a little lab that they find a way to mess with time. They basically find a way to send text messages into the past, and the main character is able to, you know, like influence different timelines and stuff. And like I said, the original series is really good, and the crazy thing is that when the original series ended, it was pretty complete. Like there wasn't really room for anything else, like a sequel or anything, because it tied off really well. So when I heard that there was going to be a sequel series called Steins Gate Zero, I was pretty apprehensive because I'm like, what can you really add? And basically the plot of Steins Gate Zero is that before the conclusion of the original Steins Gate, there's a certain timeline where the main character basically just wants to give up because, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but some people that he cares for die, and it feels like there's nothing he can do to, like, you know, prevent their deaths. And so Steins Gate Zero takes place in a timeline where he basically gives up, and he gives up on time travel and being a scientist, and he's just focusing on being a regular university student. And I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about without spoiling it. Like I said, if you've seen Steins Gate, you'll, as soon as you like start watching it, you'll kind of get the idea. Besides that, it's kind of hard to like really describe. But the crazy thing about Steins Gate Zero is that it felt totally unnecessary. And at the end of the day, I guess you can say not a lot happens. I mean, it just feels kind of like supplementary material to the original. And yet, I just really enjoyed the series. I mean, I don't know. I just think that the world of Steins Gate is just so interesting, and the characters are like so well written, and like the use of music is just so well done, that even though at the end of the day, you can kind of say that this series wasn't necessary, you can kind of say that a lot of stuff didn't happen, I still had a ton of fun watching it, really enjoyed it, and I recommend it. I mean, like I said, the characters are so well written, the music is awesome. I mean, hell, I think the first ending song that I think goes from like episode like 1 to like 12, something like that, you know, it's like the first half. I think it is like one of the ending songs of the season. Like, it is great. Like, you just hear that song and you see the visuals of the ending, and it like pulls at your heartstrings, gives you the feels. And yeah, I mean, whether you watch it sub or dub, really good. And I don't really know what else to say. I mean, I recommend it. If you watched the first Steins Gate and enjoyed it, trust me, this seems kind of weird. Feels like it might be like a cash grab at first, but I thought it was really good. And if you have not seen Steins Gate, then I don't know. I mean, what can I say? It ranks up there. So I would definitely suggest watching Steins Gate, the original, and Steins Gate Zero, because I think they're both really well done anime. Moving on to anime that I had mentioned on the podcast and that I said I was going to start talking about as they wrapped up. Skullface Bookseller Honda-san wrapped up, earlier this week or whatever. I mean, I don't know, by the time this comes out, it might have been longer than that, but whatever. And Skullface Bookseller Hana-san, talked about before, but I think that from beginning to end, it was just a really funny, really insightful look into what it is like to work in retail. I mean, if you've ever worked retail, you probably have plenty of stories to share about crazy customers and stocking stuff and what it's like during the holidays and I don't know, all sorts of crazy customer service stories and stuff. And Skullface Bookseller Hana-san, it basically, it focuses on all these different aspects of retail. I mean, like there was, an episode that was all about dealing with foreigners. There was an episode that was all about going to like a training seminar and how it's like a living hell because they act so fake during the training. There was an episode that's all about closing up for the night and working a shift you're not used to. I mean, that sort of thing. And like I said before, or as I've said in the past, even though the animation isn't the greatest, I mean, it basically, animation's very minimal because of how everyone has like a weird monster face and they don't really have to animate the different expressions and stuff. So even though the animation is kind of not the best, I think the series more than makes up for it in the great voice acting and the subject material. So Skullface Bookseller Hana-san, I definitely recommend it. I think it was hilarious. I think it was really good. And like I said, if you've worked retail before, I think you need to watch this show because I think you will relate to it a lot. Let's see here. Moving on, I finished Boarding School Juliet, and being pretty honest, Boarding School Juliet is probably the weakest out of the anime I watched this, season, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's not to say the series is bad. For anyone who didn't hear me talk about it the first time, a few weeks ago, Boarding School Juliet is basically a very, very loose adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. And basically it's about these two kids, boy and a girl, that are attending this like academy or whatever, and they're each part of a different faction. There's the White Cats and the Black Dogs. Juliet is a white cat, and that's like, one faction within the school. And Romeo is a black dog, and that's a different faction. And basically at the beginning of the series, the factions are always going toe to toe, and they're always trying to kill each other. They hate each other, blah, blah, blah. However, when Romeo and Juliet confess their love to each other, I mean, they have to keep their love secret because if their different factions find out that they're dating, they'll disown them and maybe even like kick them out of school or whatever. And so, like I said, while the series isn't the best, it definitely has a lot of, I don't know, I mean, it just, the writing isn't great, the plot isn't anything to write home about. It was still pretty fun. Because of how they're always trying to hide their dating from everyone else, there are a lot of funny situations, and there's like a lot of funny gags. I mean, seeing all the shenanigans they get into, trying to like jump through hoops so that people don't find out about the relationship's fun. And yeah, I mean, like I said, very, very loose adaptation of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Doesn't really follow any of that story except for, two lovers who are trying to like hide the relationship. But yeah, it's fun enough. I recommend it, I guess. I mean, I don't strongly recommend it, but I still think that if you want just a quick, mindless, fun watch, then you'll enjoy it, so. Moving on, while Boarding School Juliet is not something to write home about, this next anime is something that I have been talking about and gushing about for weeks now. And seeing it finally come to an end makes me quite sad because it is definitely my favorite anime this season. I am of course talking about Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Now, I don't know how many of you were here to hear me talk about it before, but I've been gushing about this anime all season because I just think that it is really unique and like really well done. For anyone who needs like a brief summary of what it's about, although Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai sounds like it's going to be this bad, ecchi comedy, with the girl in a bunny girl costume, and you think it's going to be like really dumb and that sort of thing. It's actually this really good like romance, mystery, drama. Basically, the main character is this high schooler that lives with his sister in an apartment. And the reason for that is that his sister suffered like this weird incident during middle school that it's called puberty syndrome. Basically, in this world, puberty syndrome is It's kind of the explanation for a number of different phenomenon. Basically, when someone's like under a lot of stress, they'll experience like a strange phenomenon that manifests itself in like a weird way. Like for the main character's sister, basically, because she was getting bullied at school and through like social media, like weird bruises and cuts started appearing on her body suddenly. And so because of that, he lives by himself, with him and his sister in an apartment, and he's been, keeping an eye on her. And so basically when the series starts, he's at the library and he runs into this girl dressed in a bunny girl outfit. And he's really confused why she's dressed like that. And soon he learns that despite being like this celebrity in the past, she's kind of been out of the limelight for a while. And apparently because she's out of sight, out of mind of the public, everyone has started to forget about her. Like no one can see her. No one remembers that she exists. And so the reason she was wearing the bunny girl outfit, even though it's like a terrible explanation, basically on the way home, she stopped by a costume shop, bought the most outrageous, costume she could think of. And she was wearing it at the library to see if people would react to her. And of course, they don't react to her. Basically, he's the only one that can see her. And although, her issue about people forgetting her doesn't last very long, really good intro, really good opening to the series. And from there, basically, what the series is about, it's about the main character helping these girls with their different cases of puberty syndrome. So this girl with the bunny girl outfit, he starts dating her. Once he resolves her problem, they're trying to like have a normal relationship. But there's other people in his life who also have, issues. Like there's an underclassman that has a crush on him. And basically because of how he keeps like rejecting her, she keeps reversing time, hoping for, the outcome to change or whatever. And there's like this other fellow student of his that's like this nerdy girl. And she's afraid to confess to this mutual friend of theirs because she's just like really shy. And so basically she creates like this split personality where there's two of her running around. One of them is like the more reserved original version of her. And one of them is like the more open, more like enthusiastic version that isn't afraid of stuff. And yeah, it's kind of a hard series to explain, but basically the way it handles the different issues these girls are going through, in each like little arc of 3 episodes, really well done, very emotional, very good writing. I really enjoyed the series, really enjoyed the characters, and I don't know, I've talked about it before, but like I said, I just think this is my favorite anime of the season. I just think that the way it handles each of the problems was really cool. It always kept you on your toes. You weren't really sure what was going to happen. I really enjoyed the fact that every time you think it's going to run into one of those usual anime tropes, and you're like, no, is this where it starts to go downhill? Like, it just does a total 180 and goes in a different direction you didn't expect. And it just, like, amazes you, Like, I know there was one part I talked about earlier in the season where I thought there was going to be this misunderstanding between the main character, the underclassman who has a crush on him, and his girlfriend. And I was like, oh no, this is probably where the anime is going to like maybe, I hope it doesn't like ruin it here because it's going to run into the usual anime trope of the girlfriend being jealous and there's unneeded drama, that sort of stuff. But then no, like the next episode, the girlfriend goes, oh, I understand. And she actually helps him with the issue he's having with this underclassman that has, a crush on him. And so it was just stuff like that that really impressed me. I feel like the show was just very self-aware. And like I said, it just never fell into these tropes. And likewise, I thought it was cool that the main character and the bunny girl actually have an actual relationship. Even though other series, it takes like the whole 12 episodes or whatever for them to even like confess their love to each other. Like here, basically from the beginning, they like each other. They know they like each other. And yeah, they start dating like pretty soon on, and they have like an actual relationship where he's always like flirting with her and she's flirting back and just stuff like that. And I don't know, it's the kind of show you have to watch for yourself. I think it's really good and I definitely recommend it. I really liked it. Moving away from anime, I did not have a chance to watch any new movies or play any new games this week. It's just the kind of thing where although I did watch some movies and play some games, there was a lot of stuff that I've watched before, classic stuff that I just, dived into here and there because of family, friends, that sort of thing. So nothing to report there. However, I did watch 2 new TV shows, and yeah, for anyone who remembers last week's podcast, I had said there was a lot of shows premiering on Netflix that I wanted to check out, and so that's what I did. I actually checked out 2 TV shows on Netflix that have a Christmas special going on. So the first show that I checked out was Aggretsuko, We Wish You a Metal Christmas. Now, for anyone who knows anything about my channel, you might remember that back in, I want to say April, I actually did a review of the Netflix Aggretsuko series, and I absolutely loved it. I think that Retsuko is a very relatable character. I feel like she's basically my spirit animal. I mean, she has this job that she doesn't really like, and she always feels like she needs to vent from all the frustration of it, and she's kind of aimless in life, doesn't really know what she wants. She's considered marrying someone just for like the sake of not having to work, and not gonna lie, I've totally thought about that before. And so I don't know, I just have this special connection to the Aggretsuko show, and it's like surprisingly the most viewed video on my channel, you know? So obviously, when I saw that there was an Aggretsuko Christmas special coming up, I had to check it out. And yeah, I gotta admit, I loved it. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise, but I really enjoyed it. Basically, the Aggretsuko Christmas special takes place right after the original series, you know, season 1 where it ends. And it picks up with Haida confessing his love to Retsuko, and we actually see her answer. And unfortunately, she rejects him, which, you know, it sucks because I think they'd really make a nice couple. But it's the kind of thing where it makes sense, though, because it would be a little too convenient if she just liked him back when she's always just seen him as a friend. So, you know, it is what it is. From there, though, you know, you get like a time jump. I'm not really sure how much of a time jump it is, but it's a week before Christmas Eve, and it's just about everyone dealing with different stuff in their life. For Haida, he's still having nightmares about how Retsuko rejected him, and he's feeling kind of awkward around her. Around the office, everyone's dealing with Tone, you know, the pig boss, and he's just being a jackass. And with Retsuko, because she doesn't really have anything going on in her life, she's actually become addicted to Instagram, and basically, I guess she gets like a really good feeling whenever people like her stuff. And so she has that deer, I forget the deer's name. I think her name was like Tsunade or something like that. She's had like the little like ditzy deer train her in how to use Instagram. And so basically she's just obsessed with it. And she started to like just, you know, do whatever it takes to get likes. Like she's ordering food she doesn't even find appetizing because, you know, she hopes that it'll get attention, that sort of thing. And so basically what the Christmas special is about, it's basically about, on the one hand, Retsuko needs plans for Christmas Eve because she forgot to make plans, and she wants something that's like, you know, Instagram worthy. So she's dealing with that. And on the other hand, you have Haida, who wants to invite Retsuko out to a party, but he's feeling like he doesn't have the nerve to talk to her because it's just been kind of awkward with her lately. And so yeah, I mean, it was just a really cute Christmas special in which we see these two people that, you know, obviously they could have like a really good time if they just weren't afraid to approach each other and open up. But, you know, shenanigans ensue because each of them is just dealing with their own problems. And I don't know, I thought it was a really good special. I thought it was really cute. I think seeing the return of the characters was awesome. I thought it was really funny. I thought there was some really good gags because of like the whole Christmas theme. Like there's a part where Retsuko's alone in the office and she hears like sleigh bells, and you see Tone being pulled in by that lackey of his, you know, as like reindeer, and Tone's dressed like a like Santa, and he just drops this pile of work on her desk and then flies away. And like, I don't know, that gave me a laugh. I thought it was pretty funny. There's also this joke with the hippo lady and how she has to like bury her kids' Christmas presents because they always find them. I thought that was a really good gag. And yeah, so I just thought that it was really cute, really funny, and I even thought the message it had to give was pretty good. At least the way I interpret the message, I feel like basically what the special is trying to say is that lots of times we try to like throw these like great parties or try to like have these great events that are like really social media worthy, and I don't know, we're just trying to have this perfect night in our minds so we can share it with everybody else. And I guess sometimes, you know, that's bad because we're focusing so much on trying to make holidays perfect that we lose sight of just having fun with friends and family, I guess. I mean, at least that's what I feel like the lesson was. I don't know, that's why I took away from it. But like I said, I thought that it was a really good Christmas special, and I definitely recommend it. Likewise, I also watched the Neo Yokio special, which was called Neo Yokio Pink Christmas, and I also really enjoyed it. This one's a bit harder of a sell because I know a lot of people hate Neo Yokio and a lot of people avoid even watching it, but I mean, I don't know. From day one, if you've seen my review of Neo Yokio, the first season, I just really like the show. I don't know why I like it, but something about like the crappy voice acting with the just weird, surreal humor and how it like satirizes rich people, but it kind of embraces the culture. Like, I don't know. It's just this very strange mix that just speaks to me. And likewise, the Christmas special is super weird. Basically, the Christmas special is framed as this like bedtime story that the mecha butler, voiced by Jude Law, is saying to Jaden Smith's character, Kaz Khan, while he's sick in bed. And yeah, it's just this weird story about how it's the Christmas season, and there's this like 87th annual eligible bachelor Secret Santa. And so the main character, Kaz Khan, who's voiced by Jaden Smith, he needs to give a present to his arch nemesis, Archangelo. And so there's like this store clerk that says that he'll take care of it because he like idolizes rich people and he wants to be like part of their world. And so he finds like this antique pocket watch that belongs to Archangelo's family. And, he does like a really good job tracking it down, and it's supposed to be like a clear winner for Kaz so he can impress everybody. But then Archangelo, being like the dick that he is, he pretends to be like super woke, and he's like, oh no, I'm on national TV and I turned down this consumerism lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. I think that we should all focus on like buying experiences instead. And of course, it's this scheme of his to trick people into buying the experience of watching his Broadway show. And from there, the sales clerk is so distraught because he loses his job that he teams up with this demon, and so Kaz has to fight him. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It's really weird, really out there, but I just thought it was really good. I think that once again, the jokes are strange, but I enjoyed them. I think the way that it talks about like this message of, like not really buying too much into commercialism of the holiday was really interesting. I don't know, like I said, it's hard to explain. If you haven't really watched the original, you won't really know what's happening. But if you enjoyed the original, I definitely think you'll love this. And even if you didn't really like the original, I still think this was an improvement. I think the voice acting was a little bit better. I think the animation was a little bit better. There was like some pretty cool fight scenes here and there. And like I said, the message was pretty good. And I don't know. Neo Yokio, I know, is a hard sell. I know a lot of people are not into it, but I really enjoy it. I think it's funny if you don't take it seriously, and I recommend it. I just thought that overall, there's worse ways to spend an hour, so I say go check it out, And with that being said, that brings me to the end of my week. Before I transition over to the news, all I can really say is that I know the new anime season is supposed to start soon. Unfortunately, I forget when exactly, but I do know there's always a few outliers, anime series that start a little bit sooner than others. So yeah, hopefully by the time the next podcast is, being recorded, hopefully there'll be some new anime to talk about. And I don't know, I can't really think of any new games that I'm going to play anytime soon. Game I can really think of that I'm looking forward to is Kingdom Hearts 3. And I know that's sometime in like late January. But still, we'll see. Hopefully I have more stuff to talk about next week. With that being said, let's transition over to the news. And speaking of games that I want to play, this first news story is all about Bloodstained and how Bloodstained Ritual of the Night has killed off its Macs and Linux ports. For anyone who doesn't know, Bloodstained is this Kickstarter game that's being created by original Castlevania. I don't know if he was the creator, but I know he worked on it. His name is Koji Igarashi. And basically this guy who worked on a lot of the original Castlevanias, because of how Konami has basically let Castlevania, they've given up on it. Doesn't really seem like they're gonna make any new games. This guy, went off, started his own studio or whatever, made a Kickstarter. At this point, I think it was like in 2015. And it's for a Castlevania style game called Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. And if you've been around my channel, this shouldn't be new news. I've definitely talked about this game before and how I'm excited for it. I know I backed it, and I'm looking forward to this game. I really love this style of like Metroidvania style video games. And I actually played Bloodstained Circle of the Moon, or Curse of the Moon, I forget what it's called, Curse of the Moon. I actually have like a little mini Let's Play on my channel of it because that was one of like the Kickstarter rewards. And so basically I am super excited for this game. And basically what this story is talking about is that this game, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, a few years ago, they had a Wii U version that was going to be made, but that was canceled in favor of the Switch. And earlier in 2018, they said the Vita port was also getting scrapped. And so what this new story is talking about is that now Mac and Linux ports have also been cut. So I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I feel like there's not a lot of people that really play on Mac and Linux. I mean, at least from what I've heard, it seems like most people play on PC anyway, but it still must suck for anyone who wanted to play it on their Mac or Linux system. Likewise, it probably suck for the people who want to play it on Wii U and Vita, that sort of thing. I guess all I can really say is that hopefully there wasn't too many people who are planning to play it on Mac and Linux. And I mean, if you were, I know that basically whenever they've canceled one of the ports, they always extend an invitation out for you to change it to a different system. So I don't know. I mean, it does suck, like I said, for anyone who maybe was really excited about playing it on one of these systems. But I mean, as long as you have something else to play it on, I mean, hopefully you can just transfer that over and hopefully, you won't have trouble with it. Like for me personally, I know that when I first signed the what's the correct verb for this? When I first kickstarted this game, I know that I originally wanted a copy for the PS4. And I mean, now I actually switched it over to the Switch because I just feel like, since then I play so much stuff on the Switch, and the idea of having this Metroidvania game that I can just take with me anywhere, I love it, And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even for me, what I originally planned to play this on has changed. So like I said, I mean, hopefully if there's someone who planned to play it on Mac or Linux, or like I said, the Wii U version, Vita version, whatever, I mean, hopefully they have something else to play it on. Because I'm excited for this game. I'm looking forward to it. And the article even talks about how it seems like now everyone seems to be confident that it will come out in 2019. And so here's the hoping. And with that being said, when this game comes out, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, if you're a fan of Castlevania or Metroidvania style games, platformers where you run around getting power-ups and coming back to different areas and stuff, I would say check it out. Because I want this game to do good, and from what I've seen of the demo, it looks like they know what they're doing, so give it some love. Speaking of give it some love, this next story is about how Iconoclasts, which I actually talk about, I want to say maybe like last week or the week before that, Iconoclasts is actually going to receive a physical release through Limited Run next month. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Limited Run is this online service that basically takes games that are only digital only games, and they have a limited run, hence the name, of physical versions of the game. So I know in the past they've had physical versions of like Celeste, they've had physical versions, I want to say, of Undertale, I think. I don't really have like the list in front of me, but I know there's like a few games that normally wouldn't get a physical release that they do, limited, editions of. And so I guess next month, it says right here, January 2019, Iconoclast is going to get the same treatment. And I don't know if any of you were present for my podcast a couple of weeks ago where I talked about it, but Iconoclast is this pretty fun little platformer adventure hack and slash sort of game where you play as this like mechanic girl whose name is Robin, and she runs around with this big wrench and she like solves puzzles and fights enemies. And surprisingly, while a lot of platformers have like really, limited or really like simple stories, Iconoclast has this really like deep and kind of dark story about her fighting this like oppressive regime and stuff that's like this like religion that's trying to control everything. And yeah, like I said, I just think that's really cool that it's getting this treatment. I think that's a game that definitely deserves as much attention as it can get. I really enjoyed playing it, and I had a ton of fun with it. I think that's a game that I definitely recommend. And while I can't definitely recommend buying it from limited run games because I know a lot of these titles are really pricey, I would say that if you have some money lying around, check it out. I mean, it's always kind of cool to have a limited edition game. I mean, I know if I had the money right now, I would maybe buy it, but I don't know. Like I said, if you have the money to spend, why not check it out? Having a limited edition physical copy of a game is always really cool. And I guess if you don't have that much money lying around, I would still suggest supporting the game however you can. It's on, Nintendo Switch, PS4. I want to say it's on Steam, that sort of thing. So if you haven't played the game, why not check it out? It's a pretty fun game, Moving on, another story that's been making the rounds this week is that apparently Atlus registered a bunch of domains seemingly related to Persona 5. Now, ever since Joker was announced for Smash, people have been curious if there will be a Persona 5 Switch port. Because even though that sounds super crazy, because the Persona games have basically always been, Sony exclusives, the fact that, this Sony-only character is coming to Smash, it really makes people wonder, like, oh, will there be like a port to kind of justify the reason that he's in the game? And I know even before that, even before Joker was announced, people have been hoping that there will be some sort of, Persona 5 spin-offs, similar to Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which were fighting games. People have been hoping that there will be like another Persona 5 like fighting game too. And so while people have been curious about this forever, and there's been rumors and all this good stuff, all these stories that we've gotten recently about the domains, they really make people think that maybe these rumors aren't so far-fetched. So basically, reading through the little list of domains, do you call it trademarked? Or what's the word for it? I guess just registered. I don't know if you register a trademark or like a copyright. I don't know how you call it. But basically, they did a thing for Persona 5R.jp, P5S.jp, Persona 5S.jp, Persona 5M.jp, P5M.jp, P5B.jb, and Persona 5B.jp. Which, wow, that was kind of monotonous to read. But yeah, we don't really know what any of them mean yet. But like, if you take a look at the article that I linked, a lot of people are curious if it could be like a Switch port. Maybe one of them will be, like people are thinking, okay, one might be a Switch port. One might be like an enhanced version. One might be like the fighting game people have been waiting for, that sort of thing. Some people are less optimistic. Some say, okay, it could be more of like a manga or a novel sort of thing. They could be just interactive like websites for like different media, that sort of thing. But I don't know. I'm staying optimistic. Even though I totally played Persona 5 on the PS4, and while I didn't 100% the game, I did get pretty close. I played through it like on 3 different occasions because I just love the game that much. Even then, if there was going to be a Switch port, I would buy it in a heartbeat because that's how much I enjoyed the game. And I don't know. I mean, while we don't really know where this story is going yet, as a lot of people are saying it could mean nothing, here's to hoping that it ends up being some really good stuff, Like if we get some ports and some new spin-offs and stuff, that would be great. Shifting away from game news over to movie news, I don't know how many of you remember not too long ago when I did my Mr. Rogers movie review. I did a review on the movie called Won't You Be My Neighbor, which was this movie that was basically like this documentary on Mr. Rogers. And basically, I love that movie. I definitely recommend watching that movie. I think it's a kind of movie that's just super heartwarming and positive. I mean, even if you didn't watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as a kid, I think that just like, I don't know, there's something about that man, about the late Mr. Fred Rogers. He was just such a positive, caring person. Honestly, he feels like he's like the closest thing we've ever had to like a real life saint. Like he just always cared about everybody. No one ever really found anything dark or bad about him. Like, I don't know. Basically, I did a review on the movie. It was great. I recommend it. I think Mr. Rogers is an incredible person. And I remember when I was doing the research for that review, I had read that there was a upcoming movie starring Tom Hanks where he plays Mr. Rogers, and it's supposed to be called You Are My Friend. And basically this news story that I'm talking about, today, it's that there's this article that has an update on that. And basically the movie isn't called You Are My Friend anymore. It's called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and it has a release date now. It's supposed to come out on October 18th, 2019. And don't really know what else to say. I mean, I'm excited for it. I think Tom Hanks is a great actor. I think that no matter what he comes out in, it's usually really good. I enjoyed the Mr. Rogers documentary, so I think Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers and doing this like biopic movie or whatever sounds great. And like I said, don't really know what else to say. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty sure it'll be good. Here's to hoping it's good. And yeah, I mean, if you want to keep an eye out for that, like I said, the movie is now called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and it should be hitting theaters October 18th, 2019. So I would say, you know, depending on where you live, sometime in October probably. So, you know. Speaking of movies, I wanted to share this next story because it's something that I thought was really funny. And basically, I don't know how many of you have watched Home Alone. I mean, with it being Christmas season, I feel like Home Alone is a classic. You know, starring Macaulay Culkin, it's about this kid that gets left home alone because his family accidentally, you know, leaves him behind when they go on a trip to France. Was it France or was it Florida? I actually forget. Whatever, doesn't matter. The point is, his family goes on a trip, accidentally leaves them behind, and it's all about him dealing, you know, being by himself and fighting back against these robbers who want to break into his house, and he lays a bunch of booby traps, that sort of thing. I mean, if you have somehow not watched Home Alone up to this point, don't know what's wrong with you, go check it out right now. It's a classic. But basically what this news story is about is that there's this movie within the Home Alone movie that Macaulay Culkin watches called Angels with Filthy Souls. And it's this like, it's like this black and white gangster movie. And throughout the Home Alone movie, Macaulay Culkin's character uses the movie to trick people into thinking that, you know, he's not home by himself. And it's this like really funny movie with a lot of like funny, you know, like gangster speech, and like the line, "Keep the change, you filthy animal," is like a classic, you know, that sort of thing. And what this news story is talking about is that apparently a lot of fans were really surprised to learn that Angels with Filthy Souls is not a real movie. So basically, I don't know if you can say it started with, but like where the story kind of, you know, picked up steam is that Seth Rogen put out a tweet where he puts, "My entire childhood, I thought the old-timey movie that Kevin watches in Home Alone, Angels with Filthy Souls, was actually an old movie." And then Chris Evans, you know, the guy who plays Captain America, he responds, "It's not." And from there, you know, it just took it by storm because apparently a lot of people thought that the movie that Kevin's watching is like an old movie, like a real movie, and it's not. I mean, it's just stuff that they filmed for the purpose of the movie, and I don't know, I just think it's really funny. So many people reacting to it, all sorts of celebrities and fans. I think it's a funny story. Honestly, I had heard that it wasn't a real movie, I want to say like 5 years ago, so I mean, I'm not exactly... I mean, I've known for a bit, but I guess I haven't known since like the beginning either. And yeah, I mean, for anyone listening, I don't know if you guys knew, but yeah, Angels with Filthy Souls is not a real movie. If I just blew your mind, there you go. You learn something new every day. Let's move on. Finally, the last story that I want to talk about is that One Punch Man Season 2 finally has a trailer and a release date. Now, for anyone who was here last week, you might remember that when I was talking about Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, I mentioned that it's really interesting because One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, I forget if they have like the same author, like the same artist. Probably should have looked it up. Sorry for not looking it up. But basically, I know they share some sort of person that does the same thing. I want to say it's the artist, right? Like, I want to say it's the same creator. And it's funny because I had just been mentioning One Punch Man last week. And sure enough, this week, we finally have a trailer and release date. For those of you wondering, One Punch Man Season 2 is supposed to start airing, finally, April 2019. If you've seen the series, you should be excited. I mean, I know I'm excited. And if you haven't watched the series, basically to give you like a quick summary of it, basically it's this series that makes fun of superheroes and like superhero tropes, that sort of thing. It stars this bald-headed, unassuming, goofy expression looking guy named Saitama. And even though he looks like he isn't a threat at all. He's actually like the strongest person in the whole world. He can take down any enemy with one punch, which is why he's called One Punch Man. And yeah, I mean, it's just this really fun, don't take it too seriously series about what happens when someone who is at the peak of their strength, like what happens when this hero just becomes apathetic about his job, you know? Because basically what happens in the series is that Saitama, because he's so strong and because no one puts up, you know, any challenge to him, he's just become like lazy and kind of depressed because he feels like he has no purpose in life, basically. And so throughout the first season, it's all about him getting back into like the hero game. Before he would kind of do like hero work, I want to say like just by himself, you know, like he would fight people here and there by himself. And it's all about him joining like a hero organization, and he takes on a pupil named Genos, who's like a cyborg. And it's about him, you know, meeting other heroes and trying to get back into like the hero spirit, that sort of thing. Like I said, it's really funny. I mean, I don't know. It's just really enjoyable. If you haven't watched it, I would say go watch it right now, so you'll be ready for season 2. And yeah, like I said, I've been waiting for it. If any of you have been waiting for it, finally our prayers have been answered though, and it should be coming out April 2019, which I actually find quite interesting because if it does line up the way I think it will, that means that we'll probably be able to watch Mob Psycho 100, and then not too long after Mob Psycho 100 ends, like the very next season, we should be able to watch One Punch Man. So being able to watch like one show and then the next show the next season sounds really exciting to me, so I'm really looking forward to that. Alrighty, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another news week. As always, you know, I say it every time, but hopefully there was something you guys found interesting, something that was informative, that sort of thing. As always, I love to hear what you guys have to think about the news stories, so please leave a comment in the comment section below, letting me know what you thought, if there was a particular story that you enjoyed. And I've never really said it before, but hey guys, if there's some sort of a news story that you think is maybe worth talking about, that you think I might have missed, go ahead and, you know, comment on that. Well, I can't guarantee that I'll get to it. I'll still try my very best to talk about it and, you know, comment on it. So feel free to do that as well. With that being said, it is time to move on to the final segment of the podcast, and that is the content creator spotlight. This week's content creator, and the last one of the year, is a small little channel that I've been following for quite a while, and her name is Candi Hart. And Candi Hart is this Let's Player that, I don't know, I feel like she kind of lacks confidence a bit. You know, hopefully I'm not getting too personal or whatever, but I feel like she kind of lacks confidence, which is part of why I want to really, you know, talk about her this week. Because basically what she does is that she does full Let's Plays of different, like, episodic games, is mostly what I've seen her do. Like, if you look on her channel, she's done Let's Plays of The Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead Season 2, Doki Doki Literature Club, Minecraft Story Mode, that sort of thing. Although that's the thing, and that's kind of the problem, and part of what I meant with the whole confidence thing. I really enjoy watching her videos, but unfortunately, there's some that I don't know if she just feels like it doesn't have enough views, or she feels like it didn't turn out the way she wanted, that sort of thing. But she has this tendency to kind of remove videos. So some of the stuff I might have mentioned right now might not even be on her channel anymore. And I don't know. I think that what she does is awesome. I think it takes a lot of courage to sit there by yourself and play these longer episodic games. But I mean, if you check her out, guys, I think she does a really good job. I think that, you know, especially with more practice, she'll get even better. I've enjoyed the way she plays the games. The Wolf Among Us is one of my favorites. I think the fact that she played that game is awesome. I think the way she played through the game is awesome. And I don't know, like I said, by the time this video goes up, hopefully she hasn't removed some of the videos, because I feel like she does that a lot. But I think that she does a pretty good job. And I don't know, I would just say check her out, guys. If you like seeing, you know, Telltale games or some of those longer episodic games, because, you know, maybe you're not in the mood to play them, or you want to see like what choices someone else will take, I think her videos are really good for that. And Candi Hart, if you're listening, I think what you do is great. I think that it takes, like I said, a lot of courage to just sit there by yourself playing these longer episodic games. I do feel like you lack the confidence. I mean, like I said, maybe it's not even confidence. Maybe there's other reasons. But I mean, I think it kind of sucks that you take off like some of your videos and erase them, because there's stuff that later, like, you know, when I go and check out your playlist, it just feels really weird seeing videos disappear. So, I mean, hopefully from now on, you won't remove videos. But I mean, I guess we'll see how that goes. But if you're listening to this, Candi Hart, keep up the good work. I think that you do a really good job. And I think that with even more practice, I don't know, I think you can get like a really good following. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy watching people play these longer episodic games. And yeah, like I said, guys, if you guys are listening to this, I would say go check her out. Give her some love. You know, check out her videos. What else can I really say? Just give her a chance, guys. And with that, that brings us to the end of another podcast. That is one more in the bag. As always, I know I say this every time, but hopefully this was an enjoyable podcast. Hopefully you guys learned something new, or maybe you guys heard about something interesting that you want to read or watch for yourself now, that sort of thing. As always, I would really appreciate if you guys would check out the person in the content creator spotlight. In times like these, especially with YouTube being like really iffy about smaller content creators, I think if we can all support one another, that would be awesome. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say, guys. I mean, as I look over at my calendar, I realize that this will probably be the last video that goes up on my channel before the year ends. I mean, I don't really have anything else planned. I mean, something could pop up, but I don't have anything planned, you know? And yeah, I mean, I kind of touched upon it at the beginning of the podcast, but although 2018 has had its lows, thanks to a lot of you, it also has had a lot of highs, you know? So for anyone who has supported me throughout the year with different projects like the podcast or videos, that sort of thing, thank you very much. Love all you guys. And yeah, I mean, let's just hope for a really good 2019. I'm excited for 2019. I have all sorts of ideas that I'm hoping to implement. For all of you who are friends of me on here on YouTube, I will probably be reaching out to some of you to see about, you know, helping me out with stuff. And yeah, I'm just excited for what's to come. And hopefully you guys too, you know, even if you're not content creators, you guys are excited for the new year as well. That being said, my name has been Wannabe Reviewer, and I'll catch you guys next time, probably next year.
Come to me, embrace my cues, let me guide you down into my soul. Now let us pray for the world to realize there is peace that you